Whether you're traveling on business or pleasure, Hyatt Place San Antonio Airport is the right place for you. Enjoy a complimentary hot skillet breakfast, parking, and Wi-Fi. Centrally located, the hotel is a mile from the airport, great shopping, restaurants, and just minutes from downtown San Antonio. Make Hyatt Place your place. Warren Williamson with Oregon Duck Football News, joined with AJ Jacobson of Duck Sports Authority and Rivals.com. This is our Alamo Bowl edition of Press Pass, and a lot to talk about. So much, and we need to dive right in because the biggest storyline this week has been the arrest of TCU quarterback Trayvon Boykin. Unbelievable occurrence here in San Antonio.
You know, and you're absolutely right, unbelievable. When it happened, I thought it was a joke when I was told, but it wasn't a joke. And now it's just incomprehensible that someone would put themselves at risk and his team at risk the way he did. But, you know, young people make crazy decisions sometimes, and it sounds like that's what happened in this case. And obviously it's affecting more than just the TCU team. It's affecting Oregon. It's affecting the bowl. And, you know, it kind of has changed the whole dynamic of the game tomorrow. Yeah.
For those who really don't know the circumstances, AJ will talk about what we know so far. And it started out at bed check. The last we knew, it was reported that Boykin was in his hotel, in the team hotel, at curfew check, and then he left the hotel. Yeah,
apparently snuck out. Coach Patterson told us today that it was just with one other guy. They were both suspended. But what happened was he apparently was getting taunted or jeered or something at that bar, and reacted poorly, obviously. A fight ensued. A bunch of cops mobilized to the scene. His teammate tried to pull him away, but he got him maybe a half a block away. Right. And the policeman told us that he broke free of his teammate, ran back and got in the fray, and ended up punching a policeman in the eye. Yesterday, the police told us that the officer has a black eye from it, so it wasn't a real light blow. Yeah. And again, you know, everything is kind of changed this whole week because of it.
So does it change the dynamic of the game? Absolutely it does. Boykin, who was injured for 2 games this year with TCU on an ankle injury, came back strong. Everyone was hoping to see the full contingent, the matchup between Vernon Adams and Trayvon Boykin. And how much does it change the dynamic?
Well, you know, they were already going to be without their leading wide receiver, Josh Jacobson. Right. He was out with a wrist injury, I believe it is, and declared like he's not going to be playing in the game. At the time he went out, he represented 40% of their passing offense in terms of receiving. 40%, one guy. A big blow right there. Well, losing Boykin means that they're going to be, he's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the United States. So no one's going to step in and replace him, or it would have been a quarterback battle between him and that guy. So it's going to change. The new guy's not going to be as mobile. Sure. The coaches were telling us that the new, you know, they'll see less scrambling out of him. The Ducks say that they're preparing exactly the same. I'm not sure how that can be, because you need to prepare for the guys you're going to face. But it changes the dynamics of the game in many facets. We're going to have to see tomorrow what exactly they all are.
We talked to defensive coordinator Don Pelham about this and how much it affects his game plan, and we also talked to DeForest Buckner and asked him the same question. Here's their thoughts on facing another quarterback that is not Trayvon Boykin.
They're really good. And when we watch the film, it's him, but there's a couple running backs that are making people miss and going the distance. There's 4 or 5 receivers that are all, you know, you miss a tackle, they're going the distance. So does he have a different dimension? Absolutely. But there was no elation. You know, it was just, okay, now they're going to do something different, but what is it?
It really, like Coach Pelham said, it doesn't change our game scheme, our game plan, the scheme to what we're doing, because they have a lot of guys, you know, they have a lot of guys that can, his backup quarterback can definitely pick up the pieces, you know. And just because he's not as, versatile, explosive as Trayvon Boykin, he still can get the job done. And, you know, all the guys know that. We watch the film, and, you know, we're prepared for it.
So the players kind of stay to the company line. They say it's not going to change their game plan and their schemes, but I do think that privately they're probably talking about it and looking at something different.
Absolutely. You know, the thing that Oregon's got to do is they've got to not let it let their guard down. Just because they're without two of their biggest offensive weapons, they can't change how they're approaching the game mentally. So that's the big challenge for Oregon. The big challenge for TCU, obviously, is how do you get production out of your new quarterback without your leading wide receiver? What's your game plan on offense going to be right now? So changes on both sides of the ball. With Oregon's, it's a much easier task for their coaches because it's a matter of just let's maintain this focus and not let down our guard. So we'll have to see. I mean, I'm kind of excited to see the game, but I know that there's a pall cast over this whole situation, and I think everyone feels it.
What everyone was waiting for was a comment from Coach Gary Patterson. He had been quiet about the situation, had not talked to the media until this morning at the coach's press conference. And here's what Coach Patterson had to say about losing his all-star and starting quarterback.
Well, I didn't talk to him. But let me say this to you. I was a little disappointed yesterday that everything that was basically talked to my kids about was about Trayvon Boykin. We're here to play Oregon. So if we're going to make this press conference about him, then I think we're ruining San Antonio, we're ruining the bowl game, and we're saying everybody else that plays at TCU is not important. Unfortunate for him because Trayvon is meant so much to TCU, and we love him. I mean, but he understands, and it wasn't even a conversation between him and I. I talked to him later, but it's one of those situations. He was there at curfew, and then we find out, I get a call early in the morning that he wasn't at curfew.
Coach Patterson he gave us decent information, not a lot of information, but clearly he was disappointed and obviously so about losing Boykin, but still didn't give a lot of information about if he had really talked to him too much, and even if Boykin was sent home, we assumed that he was.
Yeah, we heard he was back in Dallas, but luckily Coach Helfrich kind of helped him out at the beginning of the press conference. So
yeah, and what AJ is referring to is when Coach Helfrich began his words today about the game, he immediately came out and talked about Matt Lubick being elevated to the offensive coordinator position.
Yeah, that was something that some people were anticipating, but for Coach to come out and say not only is Matt Lubick going to be calling plays against TCU in the Alamo Bowl, but he's also going to be the offensive coordinator going forward, that sent a shockwave through us that cover the Ducks, because that was huge news to us. And so instead of asking questions of Coach Patterson about Trayvon Boykin, we're suddenly asking Coach, and so it was kind of a brilliant maneuver, and it really helped out the press conference today. But it's huge implications going forward, obviously, for the Ducks, because Matt Lubick has never called plays once in his life, so he's going to be trial by fire in the Alamo Bowl against a very good football team. That'll be an interesting thing. But then there's the other interesting point about what happens afterward.
And here's what Coach Helfrich did say when he made the announcement this morning about Coach Lubick being elevated to the offensive coordinator position.
I will intervene on some questions I know that are coming up, but Matt Lubick will be calling the plays tomorrow, and then also will be the offensive coordinator in going forward, period. We don't want this to be a sideshow. A job kind of audition against Gary Patterson's not your best one to be judged against, so we want to try to keep that off the table.
Good news. I mean, I think we all anticipated that Coach Lubick was going to be elevated to that position. We talked about it in Eugene before we came here to San Antonio. So your thoughts about that?
I'm very excited. I mean, I like Matt Lubick as a person, but more importantly for Duck fans and the team, he's a fantastic football mind. He's got football in his genes, in his bloodline. His dad is a fantastic. Sonny Lubick is a fantastic coach in his own right, and so. I think it's a very exciting time for Oregon football because we've got a guy who has great football chops, who knows the offensive side of the ball extremely well, and we're going to see what he can do with this team. He's got obviously these fantastic athletes to work with. I bet Matt Lubick's pretty excited about his new position, and I think a lot of Duck fans are going to be excited about having him in it.
I think Matt Lubick's star is on the rise. I think he's going to be a head coach here in the next several years. I know he likes Oregon, but I think his star is on the rise. One thing that Coach Helfrich did make mention of and was a big announcement on how he was going to fill the wide receiver coach's position and the quarterback coach position. He didn't give us too much information, but I'm curious your thoughts on that, AJ.
Yeah, there's a couple schools of thought. He kind of was throwing us off on what I thought was a false lead today by talking about bringing someone in from the outside and potentially a multi-talented guy. Very possible. We don't know what they have in mind yet, but there's a school of thought thinking that the ex-GA and ex-Duck quarterback, Nate Costa, has a real shot at being elevated because he can't be a GA. He's served all the time allowed by the NCAA as a GA. So people are saying, and I'm thinking, that he might be elevated to a quarterback coach, and maybe Matt Lubick, as offensive coordinator, is going to stay and be a position coach for the wide receiver. That's a large group to be a position coach when you're also an offensive coordinator. He can do it. He's got the skills, and maybe they'll add a GA to the wide receiver, coaching staff to help Lubick with that. But that's kind of what I see happening. But on the other hand, Helfrich kind of made a hint that there's someone from outside involved. So there will be a big announcement soon, like you said, but it's going to be after the game.
Right. I think it was interesting that Helfrich started the press conference that way because I think he just wanted to kind of calm the noise because that was going to be the question on whether or not Lubick would be calling plays. He made that announcement earlier this week. And, of course, he didn't want Lubick to be under the microscope during the game, that like this was going to be an audition.
Yeah, and that was something that the media had brought up last week to Coach, and he answered the question. And so, people are assuming this is an audition for Lubick. It wasn't going to be in his mind, and I think he proved it to us by saying that the audition's already over.
The job, kind of audition against Gary Patterson's not your best one to, be judged against. So we want to try to keep that off the table, and Lube's done a great job, as well as the rest of our offensive staff, trying to plan to attack against TCU.
Okay, to the game now. Of course, we got a game to play tomorrow on January 2nd in the Alamo Dome. Number 15 Oregon taking on number 11 TCU. I think even without Boykin, I think they still have they're missing certainly some offensive pieces, but I still think they have a very good defense.
They do, and numbers wise, their defense is far superior to Oregon's. So what we have is two teams with high-powered offenses. That Oregon's got some question marks on defense that TCU doesn't necessarily have. But on the other hand, Oregon's defense had played better and better and better the second half of the season, leading up to that second half against Oregon State, which they played a deplorable half of football. But overall, though, it's an intriguing matchup.
It is.
Two improving team, an improving defense for the Ducks, two great offenses, some wild cards because there's going to be a new quarterback for TCU. So, man, this is going to be a lot of fun for college football fans.
Bowl chairman Derek Fox said today in the press conference that they are at capacity, so that's good news.
Yeah. It's
going to be a full stadium tomorrow. It's going to be rocking. It's going to be loud. It is primarily going to be a home game for TCU, although we're anxious to see how well Oregon travels, and they typically travel pretty well.
Yeah.
So AJ and I will wrap up the game tomorrow, post-game from the field for you. So for now, I am Warren Williamson with Oregon Duck Football News, joined with AJ Jacobson of Duck Sports Authority. Thanks so much for watching this Alamo Bowl edition of Press Pass.